So we had this light. Interesting, yeah? Because there was darkness. So there was darkness, so we had this light which helped me read. Now we have light, probably because you want to see the face of the priest. I don't know why, is it? You know, last week I was at the dentist. Somebody was recently by the dentist? Any one of you was recently by the dentist? So these days, these dentists make it very easy for themselves. They first send you for an X-ray of your whole, this thing, yeah? Of your jaw. And then they work according to what they see on their screen, on the computer screen. They see what the X-ray shows them. But even though they have an X-ray, the doctor, this is a lady dentist who I go to, besides the X-ray, she then has another lamp on her forehead. Have you seen that? So, not only this extra light which looks into your mouth, but she has an extra lamp here on her forehead so that she can see clearly what exactly is happening in your tooth and where she is drilling or what is happening so that she can handle your tooth properly. You notice this?
Yes.
Yeah. This is very common now among the dentists. Many years ago I used to work in the villages in India, and I remember this one village that I came to work, there was no electricity in this village. So I found it very inconvenient for me, for people, for children who study and all. So I went to the electricity board, the electricity department, and tried to convince the officers, see, light is very important. So I was thinking that I am telling him something good, new about light. But he knew better than me. He said, Father, light is not just necessary for children to read or the streets to be lit up. He said, do you know, Father, that in the villages, many people have the fear of evil spirits because of darkness. If there is darkness all around, any movement anywhere, they cannot see what this movement is, and they think it is it could be a ghost. It could be an evil spirit. And he told me, Father, electricity is very important and I will do everything possible to help you. I am grateful that you have come to me. And you know, this fear of spirits makes 50% of the villagers sick. They are not really sick, but because of this fear, people are sick. And actually we can treat half of the sicknesses of people simply by bringing electricity to the village. So, the dentist of course uses your electricity to look into the details of your inside the mouth. But in the villages, in dark areas, in jungles or in forests, there is always a fear of the spirits, and if there is light, he says, automatically the fear, the sickness disappears. And very interestingly, the gospel today begins by saying a man named John was sent from God. He came for testimony. And what was he testifying? You heard the gospel? He was testimony to, somebody said, to the light. Here, the gospel, today's gospel. He was testimony to the light, so that all might believe through him. He was not the light, the gospel says. He was not the light, but came to testify to the light. So who is this light? Whom is he testifying to? Naturally, he is testifying to Jesus. Jesus is the light of the world. We saw here, yeah, when we had little darkness, we need light even to read. You cannot do anything without light. Here, of course, in Vienna city and in big cities, there is so much of light that we take it for granted. We do not realize the absence of light, and we do not realize the problems that darkness creates. But that is as far as electricity is concerned. Electricity produces artificial light to see things that you cannot see with your naked eye. Okay? That is the job of electricity or the sunlight. But does the electricity or the sun throw light in the darkness of your heart? Does it? Hello? No, it's a question. Maybe for some. The sun, the artificial electricity, does not take away the darkness in our heart, the darkness of sin. I remember very well some years ago I was in a parish here in Austria, and I announced that, just before Easter there will be confessions. Of course, situation here is very different, you already know. In 5 days, only 5 people came to make confession. I was very disappointed. It was my very first year. But one person who came to confess, she told me, "Father, what shall I confess?" And she's asking me, if you go to confession, what do you confess? The tragedy was, or is, that people are not even aware of what they should confess about. That is the kind of darkness that we are living in. That is the kind of darkness that all the humdrum, the artificial electricity, and all the other lights that so many YouTube channels, films, and artificial intelligence are trying to produce and to show to the world, but none of those lights enter our hearts. None of those lights actually enlightens what is within. You see, this example of the dentist is very important. She uses an extra light, besides the light that is already on top. He or she uses an extra light to look into the details of what she is doing and where a problem is. And a simple homily or a simple prayer, simple homily or a simple prayer cannot enlighten the darkness in our heart. For that, I said simple prayer. But prayer and time spent in the presence of God, seeking God's light to be able to see what things there are that trouble me, what things that are that oppress me, what are the things that I do which oppress others. Light can show a lot of things within us. And Jesus, as the light of the world, enlightens not as this artificial electricity. His light enters my heart. That is one very important function of light. These days, another thing I notice, apart from the light of the dentist on our forehead, I also see people who go on bicycle. They also take light, of course, to see the street. And there are people who in the morning, I go for walks in the morning in the very dark, and I see people walking with light here, and they have their dogs. I don't know if you have noticed. In the neck of the dog, they have now lights, so that somebody does not come and hit against the dog. This person is showing the light the one who is carrying the light here is also showing light to others, presuming that she herself is able to see through the light that she has. Therefore, an important function of an enlightened person. I am presuming now that Jesus has enlightened you, or you will work towards being enlightened by Jesus. You will be happy with that, but that happiness cannot be contained only to yourself. As the person who carries a lamp on a forehead to show light to the others, when we are ourselves enlightened, when our spirit is enlightened by the light of Christ, then when people come in contact with us, they will suddenly be surprised. Have you noticed people saying, that person, if you meet that person, the moment that person walks in the room, there is a different atmosphere in the room. Why? Because that person is carrying something very special within. And that person, with regard to whether it is the Holy Spirit, Jesus Christ, or some other spiritual light that he is carrying or she is carrying within herself or himself, that brings light to the life of others. So, if you have started the 9 days yesterday with prayer, today we begin to use that time of prayer to see in the darkness of our inside, our heart, through the light that Jesus is, as to what I need to see in the darkness of my soul, the darkness of sin that is producing maybe ugly things in me, or ugly things from me to others, or others are producing ugly things. How will this light help me? In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.